Welcome to today's webcast series presentation, 7 Things You Must Know to Successfully Manage Your Firm in the Cloud. My name is Beth Brooks, Director of Civil and Structural Engineer Media. Thank you for joining this webcast, which is sponsored by BQE. Before we begin today's presentation, first some general information about the webcast in the GoToWebcast platform. The views of the speakers and organizations participating in this webcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Civil and Structural Engineer or its publisher, ZWAG Group. If you have any technical difficulties while viewing this webcast, please submit questions or a brief explanation of your technical problem using the question tab on GoToWebinar control panel, and a representative will assist you. During the webcast, you can also submit questions to our speaker using the same question tab. Submit your questions at any time, and we will try to answer as many as we can later in the webcast. ZWAG Group encourages group learning for our events. If you are viewing the live webcast with a group on one registered person's computer, that person must complete and submit the multiple viewer registration form for the group in order for everyone to earn credit. Download the multiple viewer registration form from the Handouts tab on the control panel. Submission instructions are on the form. Viewers of archive webcasts must pass a quiz in order to download a certificate of completion. Today's presenter is Steve Burns. Steve is a licensed architect and a member of the College of Fellows of the American Institute of Architects. He sold his architectural firm in 2007 to work full-time on the startup he launched to create Archie Office and Engineer Office. And then he brought his expertise to BQE Software. He earned his Master of Architecture from the Harvard University Graduate School of Design and his Bachelor of Fine Arts from Syracuse University. His passions include ultra-endurance cycling. He's ridden as far as 522 miles without stopping, and working with the LA Social Venture Partners to help innovative nonprofits change the landscape for social justice. And now I'm going to hand it over to you, Steve.
Okay, thank you very much, Beth. Let me see, I need to take control of the screen. So where do I find that? Me. Okay, so we'll go ahead and show my screen. We'll go full screen here now. And Beth, can you just confirm you can see my opening slide?
I will confirm that. It looks good.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And again, thanks for that introduction. And thank you everybody for joining me this morning. In the next, let's say 40 minutes, I'm going to try and explain to you why the cloud is the future and why it's really essential that your firm move all of your business operations into the cloud. And only a few years ago, this was actually really unthinkable. Now, I'm going to be asking 4 poll questions during my demo. So please try and stay awake. I'm going to be going very fast, so it might be hard for you to go to sleep while I do this, but I would really appreciate your participation in these polls. And in fact, I'm going to kick things off by asking you my first poll question right now. So we go ahead and launch the poll. And the question is, do you think that running your business in the cloud is more or less risky for your business? So it's a simple binary there. Just give me a response. And as soon as I get to maybe like 85%, I'll give you a warning and we'll shut it down and I'll share my results. And the faster we get these poll questions answered, the more I can cover my content and the slower I can speak. So we're only at 66% voted. So just 2/3 of you. Let's do a few more, please. Do you think you're putting your business at risk being in the cloud? And I'll give you 5 more seconds because I'm really concerned about time because I have a lot I want to talk about. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So let's just close the poll and we'll share the results. It's split a little bit, but some of you believe, a greater percentage of you believe it's putting your company at greater risk, and I'm going to hopefully dispel that as I take you through this. So let's go move on. As a licensed architect, having spent the last 15 years working in software development, I've been really fortunate to have personally visited more than 200 AE firms. And in addition, I have met with over 1,000 different professionals practicing in the various disciplines of engineering and architecture. And I learned one thing, and I'm not going to win any friends here at the top of this webinar when I make this blanket statement, but here goes. Design professionals and engineers really struggle with change, except when it comes to their projects. And what I mean is that we're really good at looking at the latest advances in construction techniques and materials and green technologies, and we work with to apply these to our projects. But when it comes to looking at advances which could be applied to our own business and making us, better able to do our work more efficiently, make our projects and our firms more profitable, and equally important, making us serve our clients better, we're very often complacent. It's as if someone's not paying us for change, we're less inclined to change. So my personal belief is that each of us deserves a business that has systems and processes in place that are as elegant as those that we provide to our clients. And in order for this to happen, we need to apply the same time and care into managing our firm as we do our projects. And we shouldn't wait for some traumatic event to happen, like being paralyzed by malware or ransomware or having a major downturn in the economy before we look into the mirror for some change. So let me move to a new slide. Okay, I have an agenda here. First, we're going to look at why you should even care about the cloud, why it's essential for your firm to thrive in the future by being in the cloud. I'm going to share with you 8 slides that are really a short list, let's say, of a growing ecosystem of brilliant cloud-based tools that are either built specifically for our industry or they're highly beneficial. I'm going to touch on a topic of what we call chunkification. It's a terrible sounding word, which is pretty good for my thesis. And I'm going to explain why the direction we've been moving, basically in the past 12 years, is as detrimental to our futures as continuing to use fax machines. I'm going to cover the importance of mobility in our business. It's an attribute that many people dismissed just a few years ago, but which is essential today, and how the cloud fits into mobility. I'll take a couple of minutes talking about the topic of artificial intelligence. It's something we at BQE Software are keenly interested in, and we have teams of people dedicated to how AI impacts professional services. And I hope to make it clear that AI should be neither dismissed as some meaningless tech buzzword, nor something to be feared. I will share with you some successful strategies that you and your firm should consider when migrating into the cloud. And lastly, I'm going to give you a firsthand understanding of what all of this means when you put it together. And I'll take a couple of minutes to expose you to BQE Core, which is a fully integrated native cloud solution for the AE industry. Now, if you did an internet search today for why is cloud computing important for business, you're going to find a lot of articles listing 5 different reasons to be in the cloud. But when I think about the cloud, I come up with 12 reasons that your business shouldn't ignore it. Now, first up is there's nothing to install and there's nothing to maintain. And imagine that. You get rid of your servers that host applications, stop having so much downtime installing updates on your desktops and making sure that they're all compatible with one another. Forget about maintaining servers and dealing with failed hard drives and restoring those from backups. And forget about all that IT consulting that you pay so that people can maintain these systems for you. Software and operating system updates and upgrades might seem inconsequential to you, but it is a really critical problem. So many firms resist updating their software and their operating systems. And if you don't update your operating system for fear that it's going to make something break, like let's say your CAD software, you're not alone. This is epidemic. But if you don't update your operating system, you're really putting yourself at a huge risk Many of those OS updates deal with security patches and closing the threats that come at us every day. It's critically important. Many firms also don't update or upgrade their software programs because either it's expensive, they don't appreciate what's gone into those updates, or it's just too much effort. And not only are they filled with security patches and new features, but they really represent thousands upon thousands of man hours of development, work which is simply ignored or wasted if you don't update. And much of what goes into these updates are beneficial to users and come from the developers' improved awareness of how users interact with their software. And it improves, the user experience. And if you don't run updates because you have concerns that they're going to break something in your office, you're not going to get to take advantage of that. You have this "if it ain't broke, why fix it" philosophy. By the way, the cloud is more secure because cloud servers have security that you really could never mimic in your own firm. I'm sure many of you have experienced a computer virus or malware or even ransomware, and this can shut your operation down for days. But when you get software as a service, hosted in the cloud, this is almost unheard of. Hosting facilities have 24/7 armed guards protecting the facilities. Your office have people coming in and out. They've got devices, the iPhones and Android phones and tablets, and you've got your server rooms are often left unlocked, or maybe it's just a computer sitting on a shelf in the lunchroom. And how about your employees who bring in their laptops or their mobile devices and they connect to your wireless network? Have you ever scanned everything that's on those devices, their personal devices, that might be nefarious? Or how about your clients' devices when they visit you? Do you physically examine every flash drive that some employee might stick into the USB port on their computer? All of these things are easy methods for malware to be introduced into your firm and create havoc. And your employees and clients, they have no idea this is even happening. Number 3 is kind of counterintuitive. So many firms think that their desktop and their server-based apps are faster than working with software in the cloud, but your computers have limited capacity. And when your software makes strenuous demands on the system, you're going to sit around waiting for an hourglass or a spinning ball to finish. So you're just going to take a coffee break while this computer is chugging away. The cloud obviates all this, since cloud servers are elastic and dynamically grow as demand increases. They're also, industrial grade servers capable of performing much more than most any desktop computer or general office server that most firms can afford. Number 4 is what happens to you when you do have a major catastrophe, a fire, or an earthquake, maybe just simple theft. How long will it take for you to get new systems up and running and keep the business moving? How many of you even practice that disaster recovery plan that you have conceived? I'm going to guess it's a very small group. So when the inevitable does happen, you're going to realize how difficult this is to pull off. But smart cloud hosting companies practice this regularly. Our team here at BQE Software, we practice disaster recovery on a daily basis. And where it once took us hours to get a system back up and running, we can now do it in just minutes. Most any firm will be down for days in a true catastrophe where they need to get new hardware, restore from some backups, and then they often have to do this for every single desktop computer, and it's tens of thousands of dollars spent and many more dollars lost in downtime. Number 5, today our businesses are global, no longer or working with consultants that are local. Today we find ourselves working with people halfway around the world, either because they are cost effective or they have an expertise that we require. So the cloud is designed around the concept that location and language are irrelevant. You could be in Buenos Aires, Boston, or Bangalore, and as far as cloud computing goes, you're all in the same room. The cloud doesn't care if you are on a Windows computer, a Mac computer, an Android device, an Apple phone or tablet. It doesn't even care if you're on a computer at all. Perhaps you're simply interacting with your data via a smartwatch or a networked car or via Google Assistant or Siri or Amazon Alexa. The cloud is agnostic to everything. Number 7 is an interesting topic, ease of use. Cloud solutions are almost always easier to use. Much of this is from backward pressure that's put on developers like us because of the pervasiveness of mobile apps. So today there are 3.9 million apps available between the Android and Apple platforms. So on the Apple store or the Google Marketplace, nearly every one of those apps is instantly understandable for the user, and it doesn't require a manual. People have expectations that apps should be easy to use, and this has created a new breed of developers with skills such as user interface and user experience design. And these growing fields have made it possible for software platforms that businesses depend on to become much more user-friendly. So this is a happy coincidence of this growing app ecosystem. We don't need computer wizards in our firms or expensive consultants to help us with our business operations. Cloud platforms are making everything easier. Number 8 is cloud computing is flexible. If you need to hire 5 new employees, you don't have to buy lots of expensive hardware and software and install it on their computers and deal with licensing and making sure all the versions are correct and communicating with each other. Cloud services can expand or shrink to suit your needs, and it can happen in minutes. Number 9, we demand to be connected to everything we care about. If I am on a plane at 35,000 feet, I can work both literally and figuratively in the cloud and be as productive as if I were just sitting at my desk in my office. Now, this number 10 is kind of associated with number 1. While you never need to worry about backing up your data and making sure it is stored off-site in a secure place, well-designed cloud services are actually being backed up in real time, and they're always safe. Likewise, number 11 is similar to number 5, but we are in a profession that thrives on collaboration. Very few of us do our work in a bubble without needing to interface with other members of an extended team. So just like having the ability to hire people around the world and have them connected as if they were within your office, the cloud is engineered for collaboration. It is effortless. And by the way, if your firm is still working with a VPN, you probably also have a fax machine, and I would like to encourage you to really listen to the lessons that I'm going to show you as we move forward here. Lastly, software as a service means you don't ever have to make large capital expenditures. The days of deciding if you can afford to invest like $5,000 into some CAD software or spending thousands on some fancy accounting software, these are over. When you subscribe to software, you can pay as you go and not have to borrow money or wait to have the ability to write that big check to take advantage of the tools that software can provide you. And these are things that used to only be available to firms with buckets of money. What I think I'll do is I'm going to go, the next is a group of 8 slides. And actually, before I do that, I want to run a poll. So we're going to open up poll number 2. Is your firm currently using any cloud services to help you with critical business functions? So hopefully you will know whether your firm is already using some cloud solutions out there. So please say yes. If you are absolutely certain, say no. And if you really don't quite know what's going on in the back end in your firm as to how this stuff all works, just let me know you're unsure. So we're doing much better with our polling right now. Results are going faster. Let's keep it going. If we can just get maybe 10 more respondents, that'd be great. Give you 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. So let's close the poll and share the answers. So as you can see, 63% of you already are doing something for your business in the cloud. And 22% definitely say no to that. And had you been at a webinar I would have given 5 years ago, you would have found that about 8% of you were actually using the cloud. So you've jumped from about 8% to 63% in just a few years. Okay, let me move on. So I've got these 8 slides as I mentioned. I've broken them out into some categories. I don't have time to explain these at all. I just want you to make sure you get a copy of my slide deck afterwards and do your due diligence and look into some of these solutions and see how they can help you with your firm. So first up is file storage. So the cloud makes it possible for you to access any document from anywhere at any time. And that issue about VPNs, which are very troublesome, especially if you're not at a computer you manage and you're at a hotel business computer, and you need to get to your files. These were always big problems. So they're obviated now with cloud file storage. We also used to hear people were concerned because, in our industry, we deal with a lot of large files. Our Revit files could be quite large. And if they're in the cloud, I'm concerned about my internet speed. This is also no longer an issue because now they provide syncing capabilities. So they can keep it local on your hard drive, for your firm, on your desktop, on your laptop, and sync it with the cloud so that the current version is being propagated around through everybody who needs access to it. And I really became incredibly attached to cloud storage when I had a personal story. I lost a hard drive. It died, and the backup was destroyed, was not functional. I must have made a mistake about it. So we lost all my family photos, and my wife was really unhappy about that. So that coincided with the cloud storage, and now all my family photos have been recovered, rescanned. All those old things are in there, and now they're actually all up in both iCloud and Dropbox and Google Drive and Amazon Photos. They're in 4 places, plus locally at 5 places. So I'm always assured that I will never have a disaster like I had then. So keeping my marriage happy. Okay, next up is team communication. And if you are communicating with your team via email and sending those documents back and forth, and every version is there, and you are just clogging up people's computers with version after version and never knowing which is the current version, you got to stop it. There are tools, we here at BQE Software, we're using both Basecamp and Slack, and they're fantastic, sort of like an enhanced messaging system with attachments and really great tools. A lot of these, by the way, providers do a freemium model, which means you really get to feel the experience without having to pay for anything. But then they offer a paid version, which has sort of the enhanced features. And I would always recommend going with the paid version. Those enhanced features are there for a real reason, and they're really for helping businesses do better. So here's some solutions there for you. Now, business management, project management, that's what we do here at BQE Software. I would encourage you with all of these things to do due diligence. Okay, I've broken my slide into 2 sections. You'll see these in a few of my slides. There's a white section and a gray section. So the white section are tools out there that are built around specifically around the needs of the AE industry. So they understand your pain points. The things in the gray, they are popular, they're out there, they're very useful, and they also unfortunately have a little bit of chunkification, which we'll get to in a moment, associated with them. As far as the 2 at the top, Core and Deltek, I do want to mention a significant difference between the cloud. Deltek uses a cloud method called lift and shift. So if you are using a Deltek Vision or a Jira or Wintoo or Semaphore or Advantage, these old products, but they moved you into Vision and Jira, they may have also provided you with cloud services where you no longer have a server running in your office. That's great. You don't have to maintain them. You don't have to worry about the backups. It's an absolute fantastic way to go. But what they've basically done is what's called lift and shift cloud computing. They've taken the server out of your office and they've lifted it up into the cloud. And so now they've just shifted you from using a locally hosted system to one that's in the cloud, but they didn't change any of the underlying technology. They didn't take advantage of the things that I'm going to be showing you in a few minutes about what the cloud and this ability to deal with mobile platforms and APIs, the application programming interface that allows all of these apps to communicate with each other. They don't take advantage of any of those. At best, they might give you a mobile app, which is really a very limited, tricked out web browser for you that you can use on a mobile device. Whereas cloud native solutions like BQE Core, they started from the ground up based on mobile first and really based on the technologies that drive the cloud. So make sure you do understand the differences. There's absolutely appropriate reasons when if you're in a product like a Deltek product and they move you into the cloud, you do get some of those advantages and you don't want to disrupt your firm and the operations and the processes that you built. Absolutely perfectly fine. But if you aren't in the cloud yet, do your due diligence. Design collaboration tools, this probably doesn't need any talking points from me because we are all really good and selfish at making sure our own tools for, getting our literal work done, delivering the drawings and whatever the deliverables are that we have. So we're probably all very familiar with these. I'm a huge fan of Morpholio Trace. And by the way, some of these tools are very, very complex. And there's decades of development that went into making these. And so they will use another cloud. So we talked about cloud native and we talked about lift and shift. So a lot of these sophisticated CAD programs will do what's called a hybrid cloud, where they will give you the ability to work in a desktop environment with a very rich experience where you can have, peel off palettes and use 2 or 3 monitors and spread everything out. But that data could be synced up in the cloud, so consultants of yours who might be working on your BIM model will have access to it in real time as well. So that's a third method called the hybrid cloud. Okay, web hosting. Like, if your firm doesn't have a website, you probably don't exist. You certainly don't exist as far as the public is concerned. And I remember when my architectural firm created our first website back in the early 90s, and we spent, I think, $70,000 to build the website. It was a phenomenal expense at the time, and you weren't really quite sure even what the web was going to do for you. But today, you can use some of these web hosting companies. They have thousands of beautiful templates that you can use, making it really easy for unskilled people to get their websites up and running and keeping them updated with their current projects at a very low cost. I mean, a really beautiful template could, a theme forest is like, $10, right? So that's something I would have paid tens of thousands of dollars for, 2 decades ago. So the thing I want to talk about web hosting is I visit many AE firms' websites. Some of them are very lovely. Many of them are outdated. You might be using Flash technology, which was all the rage, 12 years ago, and that was great. But if you are having clients who are coming to your website and they use a Mac, for example, they don't have access to Flash on any Mac platform, iOS or desktop, they're not going to get to actually see anything on your website. So you gotta, I basically believe every 2 years, invest the time, assign somebody in the office to really visit through your website and make sure every page is looked at and is looked at from all kinds of platforms. By the way, you should all be looking at your website from your mobile phone or a mobile, a tablet or something like that, because most of your websites are not optimized for the tablet. And if you think about how businesses are evolving in marketing, you might be using Facebook to market your office and your projects, or Instagram to kind of show off, the latest things that you've been doing. Well, people are on their social media very often when they're on a mobile phone, and they're going to click that link and they're going to be taken to your website. And most of you probably have a website that looks very poor on a mobile platform. It might look lovely on my desktop computer, but it is not dynamic. It is not usable on a mobile platform. So try and make sure that you visit your website there, because truly that's the least cost that you can spend, and all those folks who come visit you will have a great experience, and that's what you want them to have. Accounting, a little bit like management, you'll notice both Deltek and Core are up there in the white zone. NetSuite probably probably should reconsider putting that up there because it's really not designed specifically around your industry, but there are people out there who you can hire who can configure that to work for you, but there's a huge expense in doing that. And then there's Clearview software out there as well. So those three really have done accounting systems that understand, or could be built to understand the unique aspects of an AE practice. And by the way, accounting isn't for the back room. Data drives everything in business. And frankly, as an engineer, you ought to understand the importance of data, building technology, making buildings better based on the data we glean. Even our CAD software is using data to make sure we design better projects. It's using solar studies and environmental data to let us know about the region we're building in and what to expect. And so we're using data to design. Well, we should be using all that data to help us run our projects better. And project accounting is basically delivering the same kinds of tools that a business owner might have, like balance sheets, profit loss statements, but delivering at the project level. We believe every project manager is the CEO of their own little company, and that company's their project, and it should become profitable. So they should be able to run a P&L statement at the project level. So accounting products out there that you can consider. References and specifications. This is probably more heavily weighted for the architectural industry, so I won't deal too much in that. I'm kind of addicted to Pinterest. It's kind of evolved over the years, where it was just like a little place for me to store images, to really now I can interact with those images and get to the product manufacturers and learn more about them. And then there's spec building tools out there as well. So good stuff there. And lastly, if anybody's looking for a great business opportunity, I think that the market is wide open for people in the construction or contract administration phases to build really great tools out there. So there's a few of these up here. Procore just down the street from us, basically. Great tools, but there should be more out there. Okay, where am I? I will wait for the next poll in a moment. I wanted to talk about this concept of chunkification, that disgusting sounding word. And so there was this trend, especially with the, when the iPhone came out in, I think, 2007, and all these apps started to develop after that. Everybody became really enamored with, these one-trick pony apps. Oh, I've got something to help me with my to-do list. Great little app, really fun and simple. I've got something to help me with scheduling. I've got something to help me with accounting or project management, or maybe I got some really nice little timekeeping tools so I can track my time. So these are disconnected one-trick pony apps. So the left hand doesn't really know what the right hand is doing. And it seemed like a great concept because they were simple to learn, but they were disconnected. And so you oftentimes had to do double entry, and there was no digital plumbing between these, or you had to find a programmer out there who could figure out how to even connect these, and then they would build that, and then one of them would be updated, and then the developer is no longer available. They moved to Australia, and so now you got to find a new person who doesn't know that code, and they have to build it new again. It was just a nightmare. So the trend now is to move away from these one-trick pony solutions to something that's fully integrated, that no longer requires you to do double entry or triple entry. And think about that. Whenever you have to double enter anything, you run the risk of errors. I can take 1,200 and make it 2,100 and never even know about that for months and months. It is time consuming. You don't know if it was already done, if had somebody already put that in. And so there's a lot of problems with double entry. So you want to end that. The other thing, by the way, about chunkification is these things were inexpensive. I'm paying $5 for this and $10 for that. And when you add up all the little things, you end up realizing you're spending, $100 for all those beautiful little apps. So integration tries to pull all of those together into a single integrated solution. Okay, I'm going to do a poll question before I get to mobile. And we're going to do the third one, which is, how important is your mobile device, your iPhone or your Android phone or your tablet, within your business? So let's launch that poll. And it's a long question, so how important is your mobile device within your business? Everything's clicking along nicely. And I'll give you 5 more seconds to let me know how you feel about your phone. Is it really being used for you to really manage your business, or do you just use your phone for personal purposes? And I'll close in 3, 2, 1, and we will close the poll and share the results. So 36% of you believe the mobile platform makes your job easier. 27% of you can't work without it. That's cool. A third of you think it's important, nice to have, but it's not essential. And 4 of you, your mobile things are just completely useless, and maybe they're flip phones. So thank you for that. We love this. This is information that also helps us here at BQE Software to understand you a bit better. Okay, so we will close the poll. So let's talk about mobile apps then for a moment. Now, if you went onto any of these mobile platforms like Apple, iTunes, or Google Play, and you looked at the number 1 app segment out there, number 1 is gaming, and that makes a lot of sense, although I don't do a lot of that gaming, but that seems to appeal to people most. But the number 2 segment for mobile apps is business. Now, this wasn't true just 5 years ago, but today it is clear that people and businesses are mobile. And so the mobile first strategy, which is something we believe here at BQE Software, is something that should be honored and worked around. By the way, that's means that you're not having a browser experience on a mobile phone. A lot of those apps out there look like you're in an app. They even give you a little app button, but they're actually just a tricked out browser for you. And they don't take advantage of these sensors. So on the right half of my screen, you see I've got, a proximity sensor. Some of you might have conference rooms that sense when you are approaching, and they will say that, Steve just checked into conference room 2. Your things have gyroscopes and accelerometers. We at BQE Software are using the accelerometer and the GPS tracking and the motion sensor in our core mobile apps. An example, you've got ambient light sensors, some of the moisture sensors. A lot of these are used in architecture and engineering for certain apps. A barometer, touch ID. They've all got a camera now, and some of the cameras are extraordinary. And surprisingly enough, these mobile phones even have a phone on them. So this is just kind of giving you an idea of the difference between like a lift and shift cloud or a hybrid cloud versus a truly native cloud experience where we'll look at your mobile platforms and build solutions for you that can exploit these tools when they become useful. So there's actually things we can do in core mobile that we can't do when you're sitting at your desktop, because it doesn't know that you are, for example, at a location which happens to coincide with a client's address or a project address, and it knows you were there for 2 hours and 15 minutes. And so our mobile app will say, hey, I just noticed you were at a project site or approximately at the project site for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Would you like to create a time record for that project? And it will put it all together knowing it's that project or it's that client. So simple things like that can be exploited through the mobile technology. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Okay, we're gonna take a moment here just to talk about artificial intelligence, that buzzword in the news all the time. It's really composed of 5 distinct technologies. Machine learning, certainly something that our software and any business management software is good at doing. Voice recognition. So for example, I'm going to give you a demonstration in a couple of minutes of how I can talk to my software, and it will understand who I am and my rights and privileges, and it will give me information that another employee in my company, if it asks Core something, it will know it doesn't have rights and privileges, so it can recognize us. Natural language processing, getting better every day, is the ability for it to parse out what I just said in my own unique way of speaking and return a result that is what I intended. Machine reasoning is induction and deduction. Deep neural networks, really cool concept. If it's confusing to you, if you use, for example, the Waze mobile app where you're trying to go from point A to point B, Waze is using a neural network. It's the ability for it to connect just on that route alone for you, probably tens of thousands of people who have Waze installed on their device, whether they're running it or not. Waze knows, oh, that person's on the 405 freeway moving northbound at 16 miles an hour, and it's a traffic jam, right? So that's how it navigates you from point A to point B in the most effective way, because it's reading everybody. And think about like a car, like if you've been using autopilot in a Tesla, that car is making critical decision making that you used to do when you drove a car, but it's noticing, oh, there's a car coming on an on-ramp on my right, moving at a particular speed. Should I accelerate by myself as a car to get ahead of that, or should I slow down and let them in? And how about changing lanes? What's the environment around me? So those are critical decisions that artificial intelligence is making, where we used to do that on our own, and it's getting better and better every single week. By the way, as far as AI goes, if any of you remember back in 2010 when IBM introduced their Watson technology on Jeopardy, it played against Ken Jennings and Brad Reuter. I mean, these were the two prior champions. I know they've got a new champion now, but these were two people who were the top of the top heap, and Watson just slaughtered them. Right now, think about IBM. IBM is not in the game industry. The B is for business, right? And so today, I look at what IBM is involved with their Watson technology, and they're in healthcare and pharmaceuticals, biotech, publishing, engineering, in construction, in education. You'll probably see the Watson logo in some of your weather apps. It's even in fashion design. H&R Block is using Watson in accounting and tax prep. And trust me, they're coming for you, okay? They're absolutely coming for your business. But as I mentioned up front, this is not something to be worried about. It's actually something to embrace. And if you are ready for it, and the cloud is going to help make you ready for it, then you shouldn't be afraid. Okay, I promised you some strategies for implementation. First up is, it needs to be moving into the cloud. You should be looking at solutions that are software driven. Okay, so software, I don't mean like Excel is not software driven. It's human driven. This person's got to open up an Excel spreadsheet. They got to add rows and columns and put in formulas and figure out, oh, I do want a pivot table, so I'm going to gather, information. That's not software driven. Software driven is where it's got its own intelligence, and it will deliver results for you. That's today. It's happening. Look at the tools out there available for you. Make sure that they have a mobile first mentality, because I forgot what the number was, like 80% of you now or 63% I think it was, are mobile is essential for you. Fully integrated, so you're not doing any of that double data entry. The ability to support push and pull, so when you do have integrated apps, that the data is flowing between those two apps, and that kind of happens seamlessly. Make sure it's built for your industry. So like if you're visiting the dentist, you're having your some dental work done, and you're unable to talk, but your dentist is blathering on with you about how they just got this great new scheduling software so that he can get all his patients in efficiently, and it automatically calls them a week before their appointment to make sure. Don't think when that Novocaine wears off that you're going to go back to your office and get that scheduling software to run your engineering firm. Okay, get something that is built for your industry. They know the unique needs that you have, which are very different than your dentist. Make sure it has business intelligence built in. You're all very intelligent people. Your clients hire you to take that intelligence and apply it to the projects that they want you to build for them, but you should not have to do it to run your business. The software's there with its own intelligence. Also, biggest lesson is make sure you assign a full-time manager. Someone in your office should be dedicated to this effort, and it's as important as any project that you're getting paid to do from your clients. They should have deadlines. They should be accountable for this. What I see repeatedly happening in firms is they have good intentions, but they don't make a person accountable for this to happen. And they all get excited. They don't have a busy week. They get all excited, and then suddenly clients call, and they got to deal with them putting those fires out, and the ball gets dropped, and a month and a half passes, and they're forgot about what they looked at. So they got to start the process all over again. So treat your firm with the same respect that you treat your clients, and put somebody responsible and accountable to make sure it happens. Okay. So what I'm going to do, and I know I want to leave enough time for Q&A. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to do a couple quick things here. I'm going to close out my slideshow real quickly. I'm going to move to another screen here, and I'm going to log in to Core. So this is our cloud software at Core, and I want to do this not to sell you Core. I just want you to see the kind of robustness that you get from a cloud solution. I logged in as an employee who's responsible for the company's finances, and I have a dashboard in here that's dealing with returning real-time information about the financial health of my company. But I'm not always this way. We believe every employee has their own unique things, spin on how they run their lives. So I have my own personal dashboard here, and it's filled with the widgets that help me, you know, what documents are in our system right now that I might want to have access to. Just clicking this from anywhere in the world means I can just see that document right then and there on my screen. Okay. My employee allocation. So when you use our resource scheduling tool, your employees will all know what you want them working on this week or this month. What are my to-dos, and you know, how are my projects performing? Oh my gosh, I have a problem with the Pasadena Elementary School, and it looks like it's all related to the design development phase. So that's available to keep us in touch, that we don't go you know, too far off course. We have a notification area, so that the software is looking, you know, 24/7, 360 degrees around itself. And anything I need to know about as a logged in user, it's letting me know this stuff. You know, there is some to-dos that were assigned by me by somebody. Oh my gosh, there's some vendor bills that I'm responsible for paying, and they're now past due, actually 15 of them. Some of my own to-dos are late. There's an invoice that my client was supposed to have paid, it's now past due. So on and on. The system is smart enough to tell you what you need to know and when you need to know it. Also, let's just take a look at a project. And we'll just jump in and look at, I'll zoom out a little bit, jump into a particular project here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back and just take a look at the Aspen Cultural Center, because I'm going to do something in my limited time right now. We have a thing called performance. So this is business intelligence at the project level. We do it performance at the client level, the employee level, the vendor level. You know, which one of our civil engineers is the most profitable engineer that we work with? So Core gives us this information. So the kinds of metrics I have, and I'm going to give you, because I want to get to Q&A, just a quick little sampling here of something that's in beta. So I appreciate it if you cut it a little slack if it doesn't work pretty well, but this is not released to our customers yet, but it's in testing. So let's give it a try. I've got my Google Home Hub next to me. Okay, Google, talk to Core Intelligence.
All right, getting the test version of Core Intelligence. Hey, Stephen, have a question?
What is the status of the Aspen Cultural Center?
Did you mean 1508?
Yes.
The project is doing very well with a profit percentage of 27%. 1508 owes us $44,886 with $77,225 of work in progress. Do you want to know more about 1508?
Sure.
The utilization rate for 1508 is 99% with a total of 2,564 invested hours. Any other questions?
Yeah. What are my to-dos?
You are running late on the following to-dos. Annual performance review of JS. What else would you like to know?
What are my tasks today?
You have one thing on your to-do list for today's date. Deliver webinar on cloud computing to CS engineer. Is there anything else?
Yeah. What is the balance of the Wells Fargo savings?
The balance for Wells Fargo savings account is $49,899. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Yeah. What is the ideal pay rate for Sally Ryan this year?
This year, the ideal pay rate for Sally is $38 per hour. Do you need anything else?
What was it last year?
Last year, the ideal pay rate for Sally would have been $29 per hour. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Yeah, how is my business doing this year?
This year, your net profit is 53%, which amounts to $544,650. You have $1,035,974 of income and $491,323 of expenses. What else can I help you with?
And tell me my most profitable client.
Spotlight Theaters is ranked #1 among 13 clients with 164% profit, which amounts to $310,124. What else can I help you with?
Tell me my most profitable employee this year.
This year, Jan DeMarco is ranked #1 among 43 employees with an effective bill rate of $249 per hour. What else can I help you with?
Last month?
Last month, Stephen Burns is ranked #1 among 43 employees with an effective bill rate of $281 per
Okay, I'm
hour.
going to stop this now, guys. So I think you kind of get the point there. This is where we're moving. We believe that artificial intelligence and business intelligence all come together, and the fact that I have to sit at my desk and look at a screen like this is soon going to be as obsolete as that fax machine was that I was talking about a little bit earlier. I was going to spend some time just to show you the mobile app, but there is not really any time to do that. So what we're going to do now, and we have Kerry at our office here in our marketing department who's been able to look hopefully at some questions if they've been coming in. So Kerry, do you have any questions that you can feed to me? Make sure you're unmuted.
I do. I am not muted anymore. And we do have one more poll question that all the attendees need to answer in order to get their AIA credit.
Yes,
so
I will.
think you're going to run the poll soon.
Yeah, I'll give a couple of questions, and then I'll give the poll question when we get closer to the top of the hour.
Okay. So we do have a lot of good questions, but the first question we got is from Romeo, and he did have questions about the security of the actual files being transferred, by cloud.
Yeah, well, security is always everybody's number one concern, and I agree with you that you should be concerned. So that is why it's pretty important for you to understand and work with known cloud providers out there. So for example, you should always see, as you do here, that everything should always be encrypted, up and down. So HTTPS is absolutely fine, essential. Make sure it doesn't say not secure on any website. So as long as they're running their encryption, you should be absolutely comfortable knowing that your data is going to be secure as it gets transmitted between your desktop computer and the cloud storage facility or the database in the cloud.
All right. And the next question is from Rosa, and she says, do you have a tool similar to PlanGrid, meaning a tool to manage PDFs, to add notes, pictures, changes, where everyone involved in a project can collaborate?
Yeah, so good question, Rosa. And just so you know, there are products like PlanGrid and Bluebeam. They are really highly adopted technologies in the AE industry. And our personal belief here is that BQE software do really well what we can do, and then play through the APIs that providers have built to integrate with them. So I don't think you're going to see us try and compete like head to head with a PlanGrid tool or a Bluebeam tool, but instead what we're working on with developers now, because all of our APIs have been made public, they're available for any developer, not just ourselves to develop with, is to do integrations. So this is a new feature that we just rolled out. So we have, I think, like a dozen companies that we are building integrations with their platforms as opposed to competing with them. So not everybody needs to, try and beat out another person at the product. If there are well-adopted technologies and they are cloud native, then we can integrate through APIs. So whether we've done it already and we've built integrations with a number of providers out there already, or you have something that might be worthwhile, what we find our customers do is say, hey, we're using this tool, can you integrate with it? If we haven't already done that, we can do it for them, or they can hire a developer through our APIs.
All right. So the next question is from Karen. She says, we currently use BillQuick and integrate with QuickBooks. If we migrate to Core, would the integration to QuickBooks still work?
Yeah, okay. So if you notice on the left side of my screen here, a couple things to keep in mind. We do have in Core our own full accounting. So you can actually migrate all that data from your QuickBooks account into Core and then have all it in a single system. But we also understand, like I was talking earlier about with Rosa, I think, that there is a need for us to integrate with other products out there. So you'll see QuickBooks is something we have already built integration with, similar to how you integrate with QuickBooks. The difference, though, to keep in mind is it needs to be the QuickBooks Online product. So you probably already, if you're not already online, you might be using QuickBooks Desktop. You're probably getting a lot of pressure from Intuit to move online. Then just migrate onto QuickBooks Online. It'll be in the cloud, and that will allow us to move the data back and forth between QuickBooks and Core.
Thank you. And Angela says, what app are you using for the voice interaction with detail in Core? This is very impressive.
Yeah, Angela, that as I mentioned, I'm using Google's Assistant. So we're also about to release a beta for Amazon Alexa. So that's going to give you the ability to ask questions like, you'll say what's on my calendar today. And the beauty of this system is it doesn't do what you just do now, which is, it says you have a 9:30 appointment with Angela. It might recognize that Angela is a client, and Angela is a client that has a past due invoice. So it could say, you have a 9:30 appointment with Angela, remind her that she's 16 days late on her invoice. She owes you $43,500. So we're using, we started with Google Assistant because it is readily available and has great interface for us to develop on. And we're also in works with Alexa. We eventually will have Siri. So if you're an Apple Siri user, then as soon as Apple completes their APIs for the public, we'll be able to build the same ability to speak to your software. And it seems awkward. A few years ago when we first thought about doing this, we were like, who would ever talk to their software? But today, the more I've been playing with it while it's in beta, the more astonished I am at how valuable it is that I can actually now really multitask. I can be driving and getting information about an upcoming meeting and a project, and what upcoming to-dos do I have and milestones on these projects while I'm walking into a meeting. So Angela, look out for more announcements from us that are coming in a week or two about what we call core intelligence.
Okay, I think we have a couple more minutes left for questions before we have to launch the poll. But a question is, Tracy says, we're concerned with the inability to connect to cloud-based software. 15 years ago, if the phone lines went down, it was a critical issue with our ability to complete work. These days, if the internet connectivity is interrupted, we lose access to our documents. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And I would say to people who are in a location where they have spotty internet access, I don't think it has so much to do with speed any longer, because all the heavy work being done in the cloud is being done in the cloud, and all that's coming back to you is a screen refresh. It's very fast. As you saw me working with stuff, it was very fast. But if you actually lose connection to the internet and you don't have backup internet connection, like maybe some larger firms will have multiple internet service providers in case one of them does go down, they can just switch right over to the next one. But you're right, it's business critical software, and just like your telephone, and if it goes down and you can't make a phone call, you probably have a cell phone. And so if you have a cell phone to make that phone call, well, Core runs off data, right? So you would just connect your device, as I would through Wi-Fi, to my cell phone's data plan to be able to keep running. But yeah, there's no denying if there's nothing flowing, you're gonna, take a break, read a book.
Okay,
Kari,
so yeah, we're at the hour, Steve.
well, we can do this. I'm going to do the last poll question so everybody feels good that, if they have to run, they have to run. And I will stick around if there's a couple more questions and if CSE will let us keep that going. So here's the last poll question. It is, launch the poll. Would you like, okay, it's the marketing department at work here. Would you like to learn more about BQE software? So just say if you'd like to hear from BQE to learn more about, a little bit more about what I was just demoing just a moment ago, our team will be happy to reach out to you separately at another time. You could schedule a live demo where we could have one of our engineers actually talk to you about what you're trying to do and show you how Core can help you if you want to talk to a product rep. If you don't want to any of those, just leave it blank. I'm not going to bother sharing the results. So just give you a few seconds to do that. While they're doing that, Kari, were there any other questions?
Yes. So we did have a question. Data migration, non-QuickBooks migration, is that done by Core, or is that something the user has to do on their own, calendars, contacts, and Excel spreadsheets?
Yeah, well, whenever a firm realizes, in our company, a firm realizes that Core is the right solution for their firm, they'll be connected with our data specialists. So we've got people here at BQE Software who will work with people in your firm to get all of your data. Some of it's in QuickBooks, some of it's in Excel, some of it's in Deltek, Vision, or Azure, or any other product, or maybe you've got your own homegrown solutions. But we will work with you to get your data, so we'll migrate it. We know where the data belongs in Core. We'll map it in there, and that's the best thing you can do because you don't waste your time trying to get stuff in the system. You got 20 employees or whatever you've got, and you got to put all this stuff in manually. Let us just push all that data in. And that means when you get training, which I absolutely encourage, if anybody gets any product out there, like if you introduced Revit into your firm and you've been using some AutoCAD or Vectorworks or ArchiCAD or whatever you've been using, and you get Revit, don't just use it. Get trained by an absolute expert in the product who can get you up and running. So get training in Core, and our trainers will then be training you on your own data. It makes it so much easier to learn when you see your own projects and your own people and your own clients, and the data is very familiar to you. So we will move your data for you. It's nothing you have to do on your own. Okay, Kari.
All right. So maybe one last question. Having a mobile app sounds really interesting, but I'm just not sure that my employees will really use it or even need it.
Yeah, I hear that. So here, if you just quickly look at my mobile app, this is Core in a mobile app. It's a native mobile. So for example, I have a dashboard. So just imagine I'm wanting to see.
Your screen is still on poll.
Oh, I'm sorry. Close the poll. Okay. So you should see my mobile phone. So if I just look at my own personal dashboard here right now, this is where I can see my documents, what I'm supposed to be working on this week, what are my to-dos. So they're available. Plus, maybe I want to do some time tracking, right? I want to enter in a time card record. I've only got an hour in for today. By the way, I have permission to see the value of my time. So that 1 hour is worth $275, but most of your employees won't. Or I want to track some expenses and I want to add an expense entry in here. And maybe it's even something where I want to add an expense that has a receipt, right? I want to just scan a receipt right there at the top, and it will do optical character recognition, so I don't have to write that my lunch with my client was, $35.17. It will pull all that information out. So there's a lot of utility there, but you are right. If your employees have no value for it, it's free. If you're subscribing to Core, you get the mobile app anyway for Android and iPhone. So, but I find that more and more people, if they have it available to them, they'll find reasons to do it. For example, timers. Some employees like to keep this timer window running on their desk. They just have their phone sitting on the side of their desk, and they just pause and play the timers throughout the day, and then just save it to their time card at the end of the day, and that all that accumulated time is there. So, by the way, Kari, are we there are a lot of questions I noticed in there. Are we going to answer these all later and send those out to see it here?
Yes, I think we will answer all the questions and provide the questions with the answers to C and S engineer, and everyone should have access to them. Would that work, Beth?
That does work, yes. I was going to expound a little bit upon that. Everyone that is interested in watching the archive video, you can go to csengineermag.com / let me get this correct. It's / continuing - education. within about 1 to 2 days. It'll most likely be up tomorrow for everyone to rewatch it. I've already had some inquiries about how they can watch it. It'll be available possibly by the end of the day, for sure tomorrow, with the quiz. If you do not get your certificate of completion right now, which is in the handouts tab. So I would highly suggest you go ahead and grab that before the webinar ends, because once it ends, like I said, it will be unavailable, and then you'll have to go take the quiz to be able to redeem it that way. Also, yes, Steve, if you don't mind going through these questions and answering them in, short answer form, and that way we can provide that document to all the viewers as well.
Yeah, Beth, so you noticed I'm very verbose, so thank you for reminding me I should give short answers. Okay,
Yes.
no problem. No problem. My pleasure. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Thanks.
Okay, take care, everybody.